Hi there, welcome to the Art of Business English. Andrew Ambrose is here yet again for another episode of the Art of Business English. Just arrived yesterday from Australia, so back in sunny Barcelona, and just ready to give you guys another episode for this month of January 2020. So I hope you're all having a great start to the year, and I hope you're looking forward to some really new and fresh content from me over here at the Art of Business English. Now, what have I got in store for you today? Well, I've got an episode today, 10 expressions to start using in 2020. So I've been scouring the internet and all of my favorite podcasts and people I listen to, friends and colleagues, and basically we've just come up with a list of 10 expressions that I like to use and that you should start adopting for this coming January and into 2020. Okay, so what we'll be looking at today, I'll basically be giving you, the expressions, and then I'll explain to you what they mean, and then I'll give you some example expressions to put them into context. So let's kick things off. All right, so here is the contents. So basically we'll be looking at these 10 expressions here today. So the first one is limited bandwidth, then move the needle. Third one is push back. Number 4 is side hustle. Number 5, double click on. Number 6 is agile. Number 7, to be crushing it. Number 8 is customer journey. Number 9, to take a deep dive. And finally, how are you showing up? So let's kick things off then and look at the first one, which is limited bandwidth. So when you have limited bandwidth, you do not have the time or resources to undertake an additional task. So you are, quite limited in what you can do to get something done. Now, as you know, bandwidth is it's like an internet or technology term. It comes from the IT sector. Bandwidth is basically how much you've got, how much bandwidth you have on your internet connection. So if you have a fiber optic cable, you have more bandwidth, and therefore you can work faster. If you have limited bandwidth, then you don't have as much internet capacity. So this is an expression that has come from the IT industry, and it's sort of been adopted in everyday business. So you can use limited bandwidth in the sense that you don't have enough resources to undertake an additional task. All right, the next word for today on this episode is to move the needle. To move the needle. And to move the needle basically means you make a noticeable increase in outcomes through extra effort. So we often use this expression to say that we are moving the needle slightly, or we're not moving the needle, which means that we need to make extra efforts because we're not actually achieving much. Okay, so that's a great expression to use as well. The third expression for this episode is push back. Now, to push back is like a response to criticism, and it's generally aimed directly at the person making the criticism. Or, you can also push back against something. So if someone is trying to do something that you don't agree with, you can push back against it. So you can say, I'm not really sure about that. I think I'm going to push back because I don't think it's the right thing to do. So, it's this response to criticism, or it's, a response to something that you don't necessarily agree with. Okay, so you can use that a lot. It's a phrasal verb, and you can apply that to situations where you're responding to something you don't necessarily agree with, or to some criticism. All right, look at the next one. The fourth word or expression in this episode is side hustle. Now, a side hustle is a small entrepreneurial business, and it's run separately to your usual job, okay? And the term was actually used as the title of a book by Chris Gouliabil, I think that's how you say his name. And, it's quite popular now. A side hustle has been really made possible by this, e-commerce industry, the fact that you can work from home, the fact that you can set up a business relatively easy now. So generally people start a side hustle to earn extra money and try and get out of, their rat race, or try and get out of working for the man or working for someone else. So a side hustle is something you can do after work, and you can set it up in your own time, and it doesn't necessarily it doesn't really require much investment. Okay, so it starts off small with little investment. Maybe just like you set up a website, and it's an e-commerce website, so you start selling something on Amazon, or you're drop shipping. Okay, things like that. All right, let's look at the next one. Now, this is also another expression that's come from the IT industry. Double click on. So to double click on something. So to double click on means to go into more detail, basically, on the mentioned point. And as I said, this is an IT-based vocabulary, and it's starting to move into mainstream business speak. So if someone says they want you to double click on a point, it means they want you to go into more detail. Okay, so yeah, this is probably not that common at the moment, but it will probably become more and more adopted. It's a little bit like limited bandwidth. As people use it more in business, meaning it'll take on this meaning of going into more detail. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The sixth word is agile, and it's probably not a strange or foreign word to you. It's something that you understand, because we use it a lot now. But it's really important that businesses are agile, and it refers to the ability of a business system to rapidly respond to change. And being agile basically means that you can quickly adapt your products and services to meet customer demands. And you also need to be agile when you are, adjusting to the changes in the business environment. And these can be changes that are brought on by technology. If you're not agile, then your business could have a big problem. You could run into trouble, okay? Because you could you could become obsolete, or your products might no longer be relevant to the marketplace. So an agile business is a business that can quickly respond to changes in the marketplace. What actually happens is many small businesses, or flat businesses, don't have much hierarchy. So a flatter company in terms of its hierarchy, they can be quite agile. Whereas big, behemoths, big, massive corporations, they have the danger of losing their agility and then disappearing. So, a lot of that, there are a lot of examples of companies that have disappeared because of problems with them adapting to changes in the marketplace. For example, like Kodak is one, the company that used to develop film and sell cameras and things like that. So there are lots of examples of companies like that. Okay, so you need to be agile so that you can adapt to these changes in industry and in business. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one's quite popular. I like this one too. It's to be crushing it. Okay, and it's used when someone is doing their job particularly well, or in a situation where a company is growing rapidly and making huge profits. And it's surprising because it's actually used in a positive context, even though to crush something literally means to destroy it. Okay, so it doesn't mean to destroy it. It just means you're crushing it. It means, you're doing spectacularly well. You're really like on fire. If you're crushing it, you're being very successful. Okay, so really popular. It's common to use that now. I like it. It's a good expression. So yeah, start adopting that one. All right, next one is customer journey. Now this is basically going to become more and more important and more popular, or in more and more popular. I reckon it's more than popular. It's going to become more and more essential that businesses understand this. The customer journey is the path that a customer takes when they interact with your company, and this is especially useful when you're trying to understand the online journey a customer makes before they buy your product. So it's like it's like how do they get to you? Like in the past, it was less, it was easier to work out the customer journey because they may have just seen an advert on the television, then they walked into your shop off the street and they bought something physically, and you got to actually talk to them and you can actually physically ask them, say, oh, how did you find out about us? Whereas nowadays with online, And with all these different channels that we have for marketing and reaching our customers, it's often difficult to understand the customer journey or find out how they are interacting with us. And it's really important to understand the customer journey because, you're not there to ask them, or you're not there to see if they're having a good or bad experience with your company. So really deeply understanding the customer journey is important, and I think it's going to become, a new area of business where people will become specialists. And if you're looking for a new job, or if you're looking for a great job in the future, maybe that's something that you should consider studying, because I think it's going to become more and more important for companies to really deeply understand the customer journey. Okay, let's move then on to the next one, and that is to take a deep dive. So taking a deep dive literally means, going into a comprehensive brainstorming session or analysis of something. Now, to dive is what we normally do into the pool. But to deep dive is, deep is in Spanish, profundizarse. So if you're taking a deep dive into something, you're really going, really trying to go as deep as you can to understand it. Okay. Taking a deep dive is really important. Good expression as well to use for, making people understand that you really want to really understand the ins and outs, we could say, of an issue or of a situation. Okay, and let's look at the last expression now. And that's a great one as well. It's, how are you showing up? How are you showing up? And it's a question that's often asked of others about how they are performing. So it's often used to make someone reflect on their commitment or performance related to work or even their life. I mean, like, how are you showing up means like, how are you presenting yourself every day for life, basically. So it's a great expression to ask others or ask yourself, because if you're not showing up, you need to maybe take some time to reflect on what you're doing every day to lead the life that you should be leading. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move on to the last part of this episode, and I'm going to just give you some example sentences just to help you put these expressions into context. So the first one is, we have limited bandwidth to respond to any additional production requests. So we have limited bandwidth to respond to any additional production requests. So in this case, if there are more requests for the company or the factory to produce more of their product, they will struggle because they don't have any more resources. The next one is, we need to move the needle on this project. We are working hard with zero progress. So we need to move the needle on this project. We are working hard with zero progress. So in this situation, the people are, the manager or the person saying this is trying to motivate the team to work even harder because the project is not going anywhere and they need to really move the needle. Okay. All right. The next one is, let's push back against the board on this issue. Let's push back against the board on this issue. I think they are making a wrong decision. So you're going to sort of confront the board and try and get them to change their mind because you think that the decision that the board of directors is taking is wrong. Okay. Now the next one is, I'm starting an e-commerce business after work as my side hustle. Let's hope I can leave my 9-to-5 job. So I'm starting an e-commerce business after work as my side hustle. Let's hope I can leave my 9-to-5 job. All right, the next one is, could you just double click on that last point? I want to fully understand the issues. Could you just double click on that last point? I want to fully understand the issues. So there's an example of double click, meaning, like drill down, go into more detail. And another one is, next one is, if we are not agile enough, we could lose market share overnight. So if we are not agile enough, we could lose market share overnight. So yeah, you need to be agile so that you can respond to the changes in the market and therefore maintain yourself or your position in the market and continue to be competitive. The next one is John is really crushing it at his new job. He got promoted in only 2 months. So John is really crushing it at his new job. He got promoted in only 2 months. So that again basically means, he's doing really well at his job, and as a result, he got promoted in only 2 months. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is understanding our customer's journey is important to improve our online sales. So understanding our customer's journey is important to improve our online sales. And as I mentioned before, understanding the way that customers interact and how they come off the internet and into your sales channels or your sales funnels. It's really important to understand. It's really important to make sure that process is also a seamless one, that the checkout process is easy, that when customers click, they don't have to make 16,000 clicks just to get to what they want. So that's all about understanding the customer's journey and how to improve it. Okay, let's take a look at the next one, which is I want to take a deep dive on these financials. We need to find out where we're losing money. So I want to take a deep dive on these financials. We need to find out where we are losing money. So again, here you want to go into more detail and really analyze the situation. Okay, and next one is ask yourself, how are you showing up each day? Are you really living the life you want? So ask yourself how you're showing up each day. Are you really living the life you want? And I think that's a good place to finish this episode, because it is the start of another decade and another year. So I think we should all be asking ourselves how we're showing up each day for life, and make sure that we are giving it our best and not just going through life without really any purpose, because most people do that. They just go through life without any purpose. They just go to work and come home and that's it. But we should everyone can make their own decisions, but I personally try and lead a life of purpose, try and think about adding value and helping others and leaving something that people can actually benefit from, and not just going through life without really any purpose at all. So, maybe that's something to reflect on for 2020. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of resolutions, because most people don't really follow through with their New Year's resolutions. However, if you just put some objectives in there and think about your life's purpose and what it is that you're doing, then you should be able to set some goals and set some objectives and just work towards those. And that's probably going to be more successful than just saying, I'm going to go for a run every day, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to go to the gym. I mean, those types of resolutions don't necessarily work. But anyway, final thoughts. Let's just wrap things up after that little pep talk. Basically, what have we got coming up for 2020? Well, I'm going to be obviously releasing new courses for 2020. The next one I'll probably start working on will be the meetings, Confidence in Meetings online course. So keep an ear out for that. Just need to get the ball rolling and things started for 2020. I'll also be launching some new coaching programs so that you can join those. Those are 4-week online live coaching sessions where we meet weekly. Okay, and we'll be basing them basically on presentation skills. So if you're interested in improving your presentation skills and you'd like to have personal online coaching with me, then keep an eye out for that, because I'll be launching one of those at some point this year in 2020. And finally, I'll be producing more free content for you, my listeners, and adding as much value as I can. And I'm going to be putting together shortly the best of 2019 from AOBE. So if you're on my emailing list, then you will get that in your inbox. If you're not on the email, if you're not subscribed to the Art of Business English email, then head over to the Art of Business English website and sign up, join. And you'll get those emails directly every week with these free updates and lessons and little tips from me on how you can improve your business English. Well, there you go, my friends. It's a pleasure as always. I hope I'm okay today. I'm a little bit jet lagged, having got back from Australia yesterday, and just adjusting to the new time schedule and getting excited about 2020. So look forward to being here again with you guys, and hope you're having a great start to the year, and I look forward to having you next week on the Art of Business English. Take care. Bye for now.